Also, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this finds in good health. So we're going to pick up where we left off. Welcome to Perceptive Learning Zone. I almost forgot. And, in the previous session, we talked about how power can corrupt and how it can pave the way for darkness in your organization, in your life as an individual. And today we follow up on that theme and we discuss some ways in which great leaders can avoid abusing their power. So we all know of leaders who start off very well. They're very pumped up, very motivated, very duty bound, very conscientious, but somewhere along the way, they just end up losing themselves. They become devoid of that life spark that personified their individuality, their sense of humanity and empathy in the very first place. So the question by your students is that what happens along the way? They let the power go to their heads or they take advantage of their position and decide to further their own interests. So, therefore, they veer off course and ultimately they fail to behave with dignity and respect. So, power can be a dangerous friend. It's when we have control over others and what they do. Most of us want it, but most of us even work hard to achieve it and we feel joy when we have it, but many of us also waste it. We also squander it, or worse, we hurt others with it, right? So great leaders, they know what to do with their power and how to use it to get the best out of themselves and those they work with. Now the irony is that while technology is making it easier for leaders to abuse their power, it is also shining a bright light on them when they do it. Transparency is a great, what shall I say, disinfectant, yes? And poorly behaving leaders are, they're easier to see because their actions are, more clear and transparent than ever before. So we know that the software revolution, it has played a massive role in altering the way we work and communicate with each other. It has forced companies to contend with a new level of transparency. We know that saying of the WikiLeaks CEO, Julian Assange, that we are entering an era of transparency. So leaders who abuse their position are often not in power for long once word gets out, obviously. So we all know of leaders who start well, and being a young entrepreneur myself, I can sometimes feel that what you call that, that urge inside of me, that cardinal instinct to exploit my power in a position that would wield unfavorable circumstances for other people, and controlling or overcoming that innate dark instinct or that cardinal skill is the ultimate test of humanity, the way I see it. So, um, so leaders, the way I see it, how can we overcome this abuse of power? Okay, how do we channel it in a positive and a constructive way for ourselves, for our employees, as well as for the greater society? So we got to make the tough calls first of all. As leaders, weak leaders are easily overwhelmed or deflected or swayed by other people's opinions, and they make decisions based on what will make everyone happy, not what is right. Now, leaders who make effective use of their power, they have strong character and are confident in who they are. They know that sometimes they have to make tough calls that will be unpopular, but they know that their decisions are best for the long run. And these leaders, they typically value the input of others and they make up their own minds based on their strategy. Along with that, I feel it's important for leaders, especially young entrepreneurs, to stay away or steer clear of the power trip. So having power, like I said, can be an exhilarating feeling. For some leaders, once they have it, they want more of it. They allow their power to go to their heads. You have a tablespoon of Nutella out of the jar at 1 in the morning. You certainly want two, three, four more scoops here. So such leaders, when more power comes to them, they begin to think they are invincible, they are untouchable. Great leaders, on the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, they recognize that this power can be taken away as easily as it was granted. They practice the habits of putting others first, freely giving credit to others for their new ideas and owning up to their mistakes. So this helps them to keep their own perspectives. So also great leaders need to, number three, back up their words with action. Yes, actions speak louder than words. You got to walk the talk. Many leaders they make long, lofty speeches full of promises. Typically, when election time comes up, their oratorical skills may be impressive at the time, but their words become ultimately shallow and profoundly meaningless if they do not plan on following through. So great leaders, they choose their words very carefully. They know that in order to build trust, they actually have to do what they're going to do. They do not want to risk losing the trust of others. Also, great leaders, they take the job seriously. We have seen leaders who are casual about their role. Once they have the power, delegating everything to their juniors, becoming more idle and carefree the more they ascend up that corporate ladder of hierarchy. They become complacent, they become lackadaisical. Effective leaders are more than familiar with the phrase that with great power comes great responsibility. So they feel the weight that their role carries, and sometimes it even keeps them awake at night. They know that others are counting on them, and for that reason, they put everything they have into being the best leader that they can possibly be. Also, last but not least, great leaders, they willingly share the power, dear folks. Some leaders are easily threatened by others who may have good ideas, and they quickly knock them back down before they gain a foothold. Great leaders recognize that they cannot reach their goals alone. They know that if they're going to accomplish anything meaningful, they need a team of people working together. They welcome the input of others, and they see raising up more leaders as one of the best and most exciting parts of the job. I'll summarize this by saying that the most influential leaders are the ones who inspire people to follow them. They use their power to empower others. And the worst thing is that they're the ones who are usually walking alone. And there's nothing wrong with being alone if you want to go all the way. And sometimes, God Almighty pulls you away from worldly relationships because He wants you to experience what it is like to be alone, to walk a higher path. And when you're alone, that's where you get the time to understand yourself better. There was a study called the Omni studies. There was a study conducted by the Omni Group that interviewed Americans about how they felt when the radio was turned off, when the television was switched off, and they had no more distractions to numb them. And almost 80% of the lot that was interviewed said they experienced anxiety, stress, panic attacks. So before you learn to be with anyone else, you gotta learn to be with yourself. You gotta learn to respect yourself, not exert yourself beyond the boundaries. Overproductivity can be a curse as well. And it's very important that you take out 5-10 minutes in your daily existence, whether you are a leader or whether you're not a leader, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you're not an entrepreneur. You take out some time at the end of the night before you go to sleep and you analyze your shortcomings and you make a concrete plan on how to overcome your methodologies. And it's very important that you relax and give yourself some space to diffuse out your tensions every once in a while. There is that lovely saying of John Lubbock that to sit on the grass underneath a tree and to hear the sound of water emanating from a nearby river and watch a cloud floating across the horizon every once in a while is certainly not a waste of time. So it's good to be lonely every once in a while. When you are alone, you are with the one who is alone, as Rumi once said. So to conclude, if you are in a position of power, ladies and gentlemen, you have the opportunity to do great things and build great connections and organizations along the way. It's time to build what matters, because as Albert Einstein once said, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that is counted, it really counts. So thank you very much, fellas, and stay blessed. Have a lovely night. Assalamu alaikum.